Hi everyone, this is Dennis Lixon from Refused, Invasion, Fake Names, and about a million other bands. You're listening to the New Scene podcast. Dig it.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the New Scene. I am your host Keith, and we're back with another brand new episode. And on the show this week, we have Kevin Baker of The Hope Conspiracy. The Hope Conspiracy are back after a long absence, and I, for one, am very excited about it. They're releasing their excellent new LP later this week. It's called Tools of Oppression, Rule by Deception. And we talk about that record. We cover all things The Hope Conspiracy. We also talk Piecemeal, bars, All Pigs Must Die. What's been going on with Kevin? I mean, the man has made a lot of great music. And this is a great conversation. It's coming up shortly, but first, here's how you can support The New Scene. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at New Scene Pod. Reviews. Give us 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can write a review on Apple Podcasts, and you can leave episode feedback on Spotify. Let us know how we're doing. Shirts. The New Scene has shirts for sale at our store at Death Wish Inc. There's a long sleeve option and several short sleeve t-shirt options. Pick one up. It's a great way to support the show. Also, you can always email me at newscenepod@iodinerecords.com. Also, don't forget to support Iodine Recordings. The debut LP from Love Letter is up for pre-order right now. The record is called Everyone Wants Something Beautiful, and Love Letter features founding members of Verse and Defeater, and they're a great band. They've got a new single out right now. It's called Misanthropic Holiday or Vacation. Check it out. The next leg of the Quicksand Hot Water Music Tour kicks off June 13th. Make sure you go check that out. I've seen clips of some of those shows online, and they look incredible. The new LP from Her Head's on Fire is called Strange Desires, and it's coming out July 19th. And Mind Over Matter Records have just released the single on vinyl. It's limited to 25 copies, so make sure you get your hands on that. Also, remember, Her Head's on Fire have UK tour dates June 2nd through June 9th. The new EP from Stretch Armstrong, The Revealing, is out now. The new LP from One Line Drawing, Sketchbook, is out now. And don't forget to sign up for the Iodine Noise Cult. You'll get every new Iodine vinyl release that's coming out this year. Also, don't forget to support our sponsor for the month of May. Equal Vision Records. Equal Vision Records have been one of my favorite labels since I got into this music way back in the late 90s. So many classic bands have been on Equal Vision: Coheed and Cambria, American Nightmare, Time in Malta, Converge, This Day Forward, and The Hope Conspiracy. The current roster is also killer. They just put out quality stuff all the time. And here are some updates from the label. Hot Water Music have just released their new LP called Vows, and it features guest appearances by Dallas Green of City and Color, Thrice, The Interrupters, and Brendan and Daniel from Turnstile. They've got a new video out for their single, After the Impossible, and make sure you catch them on that tour with Quicksand. The second leg kicks off June 13th, and it hits Europe in November. Check hotwatermusic.com for more information. Be Well have just released their new 7-inch. It's called A Tap I Can't Turn Off, and it is great. It's their first new music in 2 years. Be Well, I hope you know them by now. They feature members of Battery, Bane, Darkest Hour, and Fairweather. And make sure you catch them on tour with I Am the Avalanche in June. Check equalvision.com for more information. There's a new pastel pink variant of A Hopeful Sign. That's the new collaboration record from Yellowcard and Hammock. It's limited to 500 copies, so grab one soon. Great record, highly recommended. may have upcoming tour dates in June with Something Corporate. Check their page for a full list of dates. Also, remember to follow Equal Vision Records on Instagram at Equal Vision. Okay, so check back in with me in segment 3. We'll check in. We'll do a recap of the conversation with Kevin. We'll talk about the new Hope Conspiracy record. I've heard it. I can give you a little sneak peek. Well, I can talk about it with you. I can't play it though. I'll tell you what's going on with me. I saw Frail Body last week. I saw Sunny Day Real Estate last week. We'll talk about everything. But right now, we are going to speak to Kevin Baker of the Hope Conspiracy. Enjoy. All right. We are here now with Kevin Baker. Kevin, welcome to the show.
How's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. And Kevin, I'm excited to have you here. You know, you have a great history in the world of music. Hope Conspiracy, bars, All Pigs Must Die. It's very exciting lately. Hope Conspiracy just put out a new EP, and we've got the new record coming, and we're going to talk about all of that. But first, I want to ask you, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good today. Yeah, I just finished work, and now I'm switching over to this, and hopefully I can clear the cobwebs and give you a good interview.
I think we're going to get it done. Cool. I think it's going to happen. Where do you live?
I live about an hour or so north of Boston.
What do you do for work?
I actually screen print. I own a screen printing shop. Yeah, it's called Liberated Images.
Who are some of your clients? Who do you do work for?
We actually do a ton of work for Death Wish, and we do a lot of kind of contract work for random customers. Touring bands we've had come through here a bunch over the years, tattoo artists, and graphic artists. Will come our way. But it's a real mishmash because we also do pizza shops and landscapers. We have a ton of different customers, so it's been busy lately. So that's good.
That's good. Yeah. It's nice to do work connected to music as well, right? Like the podcast is busy all the time, and it's a lot of work, but it's connected to something I love, so it doesn't feel like work all the time. Do you find that with the screen printing business?
Yeah, I mean, it's not without its headaches, just like anything else. But I'm my own boss, and I basically made the shop in my vision as far as like we started back in 04, and it was just guys and bands that wanted to have a place to land every time they came back from the road, and so it was like this kind of agreement that anytime someone was out, they were covered. They'd come home and have a job, and so we've always kept that sort of vibe here. And as we've gotten older, touring, has kind of gone by the wayside. We got a couple guys that are here that are still touring from time to time, but not like it was back, 20 years ago.
Does that agreement still stand that people can be covered if they're touring?
To a certain extent. I mean, you still have to be here though. That's the thing. You can't, when people go on the road consistently, then it's just, there's really no chance for me to fit them into the repertoire unless we're really busy and I can give them a call and be like, come on in, we got a big job and we need you,
Right.
So
right.
It's gotten way more organized since 04, obviously. But we try to keep the aesthetic of, working with bands, working with artists, and, not just being your run of the mill screen printing shop.
Right. Where did you grow up?
I grew up just outside of Boston. Yeah. About 25 minutes north of Boston.
Where at exactly?
A place called Lynnfield.
Okay. I'm only familiar with Quincy because I had relatives who lived there, so I'm curious.
Yeah. Quincy, South.
Yeah. So how about your relationship with music? Is it something you've always been interested in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I first got interested in music through my older sister and through her 8-track collection. And we had the stereo in in the living room, and I would just go through all of them, and I mean, I think my first favorite band was Jay Giles and Styx.
Nice.
Yeah, and then there was who else? Cheap Trick, and then of course I absolutely loved Kiss as a young, I think nursery school I discovered Kiss, and that was sort of like my introduction to, like, I guess, hard rock, and from there it just turned into metal, and from there that was my gateway to punk and hardcore.
Yeah, Massachusetts, Boston, that whole area, pretty legendary hardcore scene. When I got into things around 98, we had Converge, of course, we had Cave In blowing up, and then Kill Switch Engage a little later. I mean, the list of bands is endless. So how did you discover it? Where did you come in, like in terms of punk and hardcore bands?
I mean, it definitely came from, skateboarding. There was just a handful of us. I mean, this is, we're talking late 80s now, like around 80, 86, 87 was when we first discovered skating. And through that, through Thrasher, the magazines, you just were exposed to the music, and at that point, we were young, we were like in middle school. So, we were listening to bands that had already, come and gone. So, like Minor Threat, Misfits, Dead Kennedys, that kind of thing. So we had all the tapes, from these bands that already had a discography and already had their golden age of, being a band, and were gone. And so when we started getting exposed to like things that were current and old enough that someone had a license so that we could drive into Boston and go to a show, that's when I discovered things like Slapshot, which was my first show, Wrecking Crew. I think, my first show was, I can remember it. It was Slapshot, Uppercut from New York City. And I believe this band, which was a local band, Said and Done, but I think their name at that time was Underage, and there was like one more, I can't remember. There was definitely 4 bands, but that was at Bunratty's in Lower Alston, and I just remember walking in there scared shitless because it was just like shaved heads, mohawks,
Yeah,
and definitely at that time there was a lot of hockey hair too. I noticed a lot of shaved sides and long in the back. Sure. And definitely like a New Kids on the Block aesthetic going on at that time. And but I just remember walking in there and just being like the volume and the danger of the fact that there were these just people just like throwing all caution to the wind and going nuts, like in the pit, jump on each other's heads. And I was just like, this is for me. This boring suburban shit that I've been around, that I've been trying to escape through other means, like skateboarding or, jumping on the train to go into Boston and discover new music and just be around culture. Once I saw that with my own eyes, and then just meeting people from all over, like South Shore, west of Boston, New Hampshire, Maine, everyone would come down for these things. And next thing you know, you got a Rolodex full of people, and then you'd see them at every show. Next thing you know, you're all meeting up for pizza, next to the Rat, and going to see like things like Sick of It All, Raw Deal. All the New York bands at that time were really hitting Boston on a regular basis. So I had the opportunity to see all that stuff, come through. And that's what really kind of set me in motion for, years later, wanting to do it myself.
Yeah, don't you miss it? I'm not in this. I'm in New York City. I grew up in Philly originally, so when I go to a show, if I know one person there, that's a rare occurrence. But don't you miss like going to a show and 50 people there? Maybe that's still the case for you. I don't know.
No, I'm definitely not. Like I know. No, I mean, I'm like in my late 40s, 49 now. And, if you go to a show, it's just like, you're surrounded by kids, people in their 20s, 30s. So as far as knowing anyone anymore, everyone I knew I have the people that are still around me here, that can sometimes get in there and go see a show. Myself included, it's just finding the time to do it is sometimes, it can be tough, but, the days of just being young, and being able to just jump on a train, go down to Kenmore Square and then just be with 10, 15, 20 people, that you called your friend at that time. And it was a great feeling. You'll never, I could never replicate that at this point. It's just you had to be there kind of thing.
Exactly. I mean, if a show is in a different borough now, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. But
Yeah.
back in the day, I'd jump on a train and go from Philly to New York City on a weeknight to catch a band.
Right. I just remember, oh my God, driving. Driving was nothing. 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, no problem. Yeah. And then going to the show and then driving back, not even staying. Sometimes you would crash on someone's couch, but sometimes it would just be let's drive back. And being wide awake the whole time, shooting the shit, stopping to get crappy food at the rest stops. Yeah, it was so different than it is. I'm like, I can't even, are you kidding me? I can't drive 15 minutes past 10:30 at night now. I'm just done.
It's hard to see now.
It is. It's just it's youth. You have that energy. You have that drive to just always be around people, and want to be social and just check out, have new things introduced to you. That's what it really was for me. It was just always wanting to find new things,
right.
Music, art, culture, whatever it was. Just, I just had sort of a passion for, always wanting to, movies, whatever it is, just give it to me. If it's different, if it's weird, I want to see it or hear it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Same here. Do you still keep up with any new music or go check out new bands still?
I try. I definitely check out a lot of the newer stuff. And as far as new, what do we consider new now? I could say a band 10 years ago is still new to me, but
that's new. That counts as new.
It counts as new.
Yeah. For me, 2010 and forward is new.
Yeah, exactly. But that being said, I love, a lot of this. I love a lot of the English stuff that's happening right now, to be honest with you. I think that stuff is great. The, stuff out of the UK, like the Chisel and let me see. And from actually, speaking of Philly, I love that band Poison Ruin. That's a couple off the top of my head I can think of because my memory sucks.
Yeah, I have to consult the yearly Spotify playlist I put together. I'm like, what am I listening to? Yeah. Oh, right.
And then I look and it's almost all podcasts sometimes. I'm just like, wow, so lame. But that being said, I do check out as much new stuff as I can. I have friends that just all of a sudden I'll get a text and it's a new band and I'll put it on, at work, and take it in. But I find myself really at the end of the day, the things I enjoy most is the stuff that I loved, as a kid still. This, right. There's just certain things that just stand the test of time. And I still love those things. I still put on Troops of Tomorrow by The Exploited. And I still love that record. I still love, the first 3 Agnostic Front records. And, just a lot of the thrash records from that time just still kill it. You can't really match the energy of that time. And also, it's just, it was the time I was young, so I identify with those sounds. Like those were the things that made me love, heavy music, hardcore, punk.
Right.
Yeah.
Was the Hope Conspiracy the first band you were in?
No, I was in some bands that were like, let me see. I was in a band that didn't do anything in the early 90s. Like, it was probably around 90, not early 90s, but early mid 90s, like 93. And we practiced all the time and then just never played a show. and I just remember that was my first experience with laryngitis, just like always blowing my shit out, just like not knowing how to do it, not knowing, how to just push it out, not through your throat. But
yeah,
just going through it, just trying to figure it out. And then the same guys, we got back together in like 96, and it was called Against All. And it was like, we were a straight edge band, and, it was like pretty Boston, New York hardcore influenced. That was like what we really were going after with that band. And then that band turned into another band called Piecemeal, and the sound just like changed because Keith, the main songwriter, like just went into a deep dive on sort of like metalcore sounding stuff, of that time, current of from that time. Like, just absolutely everyone absolutely loved Converge,
yeah.
and so the band, in my opinion, wasn't great, but we had a lot of fun. We actually did a tour down the East Coast and had some great shows in and around New England, Boston, Portland, New Hampshire had great shows back then. And so anyway, that band broke up. I think the last show we ever played was it was in Portland. And I remember it being, I think it was Reach the Sky and Buried Alive and us. And there was probably maybe a couple other bands, but that was the last show we ever played, which was an awesome show. And
yeah.
And
I remember that band. Yeah. Piecemeal.
Yeah. You remember that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I actually went back and listened to it recently because somebody found this, I don't know, it's somebody has this like database of like, I think it's like every single demo by every single maybe like metalcore, hardcore band from, I guess, maybe New England, Boston. I didn't go through all of it. It might even be more than that. It might even be like everywhere. But he's like, check this out. I was like, oh my God, Piecemeal. And I clicked on it, and I was like, probably the first time I had listened to it in like easily 20 something years. And
wow.
Yeah. And, after I was done, I was like, don't need to do that again. Because it took me back at first, but then when it was done, I was just like, damn, not good.
You didn't like it?
I liked it for the memory it kind of brought back to me, but it's just, it just wasn't like something that I can look back on and be like, oh yeah, I'm really proud of this. This was awesome. It was just like, not, it just wasn't.
So if we're hoping for a Piecemeal reunion, we'll have to keep hoping.
Yeah, don't hold your breath.
How did that band come to an end?
I was actually in talks with the guys from Minneapolis who were coming out here to form the Hope Conspiracy, and they, told me, yeah, we heard you. It was actually Adam, the drummer at that time. He worked at Extreme Noise out there in Minneapolis. I believe that's how it happened. Yeah, I think he might have been working there, and he came across, I think a compilation that Piecemeal was on, and was able to, because I think that was back when everybody would put their AOL address, like getting for shows or like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he called up and out of the blue, and I mean, we talked for like it had to have been an hour or so, if not more. And it's like, well, listen, they were in Harvest, that band Harvest, and
Yeah.
that band had its last show, and they decided they were going to form a new band and move to Boston because locationally, like you can play, you can drive an hour, 2 hours and play a show to a whole new group of people. Whereas out there, once you get outside the city limits, it's like 8 hours to Chicago, like, 10 hours to where, I don't know, Detroit or something. Who knows? Like just probably even more. And so they wanted to start a new band and move to Boston and just do it full time. And I said, well, I'm all in, but he's like, you still got to try out. You still got to, come down after we get all set up and, and try out for the band. So we met up, and I'm trying to think if this was before or after Piecemeal broke up, but I think at that point I had already had enough of being in that band, and I was kind of thinking like, getting in the band with these guys wouldn't be a problem. And just based on my conversation with Adam, it seemed like he was pretty, stoked on just me being the vocalist. So yeah, it all worked out. And I went down there. We were in Dan's bedroom, I believe, all set up. I have no idea how. It was like you couldn't hear anything. It was just like
everyone full band.
Yeah, in a bedroom. And yeah, I thought. I mean, the house was. I mean, I couldn't even imagine if the neighbors, like, if there were downstairs neighbors or what. But yeah, they had me try out in the bedroom, and everything was like, of course, turned to 11, and I couldn't hear anything. And he was like, "Yep, you're in the band." And I was like, "Okay, great." Awesome.
Wow. I mean, how old are you at that time?
Oh, God. So that was probably
98, 99.
Yeah. Probably like 23.
What's your life like at that time? I mean, are you working? Do you want to do music full time? Like, where's your head at with all of this?
Well, yeah, I was going to school, and then I got a job at a printing press. Doing pre-production for a printing press, offset printing. I was going to school for graphic design, and that. And so when I was like able to just go out and get a job, I kind of just grabbed it because, I needed money. And so I was working nights, Monday through Thursday. It was, we had to go in around 10:30 or 11 at night, something like that. I think it was like 10:30, something like that. And work till I think it was like 7:00 the next morning, 4 nights a week. And so, yeah. And it was kind of brutal, but I was like, the way they sold it to me was just like, yeah, I only work 4 days, but it's, and then when I get out on Friday morning, I drive down to Boston and I meet those guys at the practice space after being up all night and load the van and then drive to wherever the 3 or 4 shows we were going to play would be. One of our first weekends, and I still to this day can't even believe we did it. I got out on Friday morning, went down there, we loaded the van, and we drove straight to Bloomington, Indiana, from Boston, and played. I think it was a skate shop, a night show at a skate shop. Got dinner after the show, loaded the van, got dinner, and took showers at their buddy's house. And then back on the road, drove all night and pretty much all day to get to Minneapolis to play a show there.
Oof.
Yeah. And then played the show, loaded the van, ate dinner, back in the van, said goodbye to everybody, and drove all night and all day to Syracuse. And
Oh my God.
yeah, I know. It's like insanity. And played the show, got back in the van, drove the rest of the way back to Boston. By the time we loaded out back into the practice space, I was back in my car and driving back to work. With like barely any sleep, like just crazy.
It really is a young man's game,
It
isn't
is.
it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's just, when you think about it, that's just stupid. I don't care how old you are. I think,
Yeah.
I talk about it with Jonas. I'm just like, what were we thinking? That is insane.
I think I could still do it, but we would have to stop at a hotel overnight and then get up really early and keep driving.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't drive all night, or maybe not sleep in the van,
Yeah. No, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
I would absolutely, we're pulling over, getting a hotel for at least for 3 or 4 hours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Getting old.
So did you know the guys from Harvest at all before they hit you up to join the band?
Well, they came through, I saw them twice. I saw them at the Space in Worcester, and we might have met there. And then I think also down, they played a show in Rhode Island. And I don't think it was the same weekend. It might have been just, different times altogether. But that's sort of how I met them. Nothing like, we didn't hang out. It was just like, hey, nice to meet you. Like your band.
Yeah.
And then, so it was completely and totally random that, Adam called me, out of the blue. Like, I don't know, it's probably 6 months later, maybe.
Because I remember I saw them, well, I've seen them more than once, but the first time was one of my first shows in 98, and they were incredibly tight. Still one of the most memorable performances I've seen. Even people we knew who were at the show that didn't like this music at all liked them. I remember that specifically.
Yeah.
And it was like a big deal when they were breaking up. I remember friends of ours were flying out for the last show, and I was like, what? How are you affording that? What? Like
Yeah, they were, you could just tell that they just practiced and practiced and practiced. Like, they just had that work ethic. And
yeah.
So, that work ethic came with them, and that's how it was. It was practice. I think, at least 2 or 3 times a week.
How long?
Oh, a couple hours, maybe.
Okay. But still, like 2 hours, 4 times a week, that's a lot.
Yeah. I'm hour, 2 hours, whatever it took to get through, the set, whatever it took to figure out a new song, that kind of thing. So, yeah, they were committed. They all, everyone had their jobs, to, make money, but, the band was top priority. And I knew that getting into it. So after working a year and a half nights, at that point, I was just like, yeah, if they, for whatever reason, let me go because I'm not showing up on time or whatever, that's totally fine. Because I'd rather do this, or to get get whatever. I'll get a landscaping job just to be able to, travel, cross country, and then hopefully to Europe. That was my plan anyway. That once I saw like what it was like working for a company and how, I don't know, I saw how like the company got sold, and next thing you know, layoffs started happening, and I just saw how expendable you were. That was like my first run in with that as someone who's like just kind of out of school at that point and getting their feet wet in that world, working for a company. And
right.
And I was just like, oh wow, they don't care. Like they'll just no matter. It was like I was watching people that had been there for 10, 15 years be let go, and I was just like, well, I've only been here a year and a half. I'm dog shit. These people. So I just once it did happen, once I got the invite to the front office on Thursday morning one day, and they told me I was gonna be laid off. I was just like, thank you. Shook their hand, walked out, and I just was like, yeah, could collect unemployment and go on the road. And that's what I did for, I think it was 2 years, or let me think, I forget how many months I was able to get unemployment and then be in the band, but I made the most of it. I'll tell you that much.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, it was perfect timing, because that's right around the time, we were starting to get offers to do 4-week, 5-week runs.
Hope Conspiracy started off strong, right? We had the 99 demo. We had Cold Blue out on Equal Vision in 2000, right?
Yep.
And I just remember you. I remember seeing you guys. I remember you being everywhere. I remember Equal Vision being top of the heap at the time. I was seeing you a lot, Converge a lot, American Nightmare were around. It was a great time for hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, it was just we were lucky to be even involved with all of it. Just being in Boston, first of all, and then just the bands at that time that we were friends with and going on the road with. It was just, it was great. We were able to play, to pretty decent, rooms, as far as like people coming out. And don't get me wrong, there was the occasional eight people here and there, but
right.
That just comes with it. But yeah, I mean, to be able to just get in front of a room full of people at that time was, it was great.
My thing is, I never wanted to play to like 0 people or 1 person, which has never happened. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh man, I played shows I think even with Piecemeal, it was like, bands playing for bands down in some sort of hall in the middle of Connecticut somewhere, or someone's basement,
Yeah.
Or, girlfriends would be there. But,
that's enough. Yeah.
I mean, but it's a basement. How many people do you actually want there anyway?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I would, and if whether it was 1 person or 0 people, if I showed up, I would play. You could be a good practice.
Exactly. I mean, there was no driving away, you're like, screw this, we're out of here. It's like, no, we drove here, we came to do this, we're playing. And sure enough, you would end up meeting people, and something good would come out of it. I mean, that's what it was about. It was just about playing, really, at the end of the day. Like it was a luxury to be able to be in a packed room, as far as I was concerned. Like, that was just like, wow, look at all these people. But I mean, most of the time, you're playing, 25, 50, 100 people, it's all good.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes those ended up being the best shows, to be honest with you, depending upon how enthusiastic or energetic the people there were.
You guys eventually did make it to Europe, right?
Oh yeah, we went a few times. Our first trip to Europe was actually with Snapcase.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and we did. I think it was like their final tour in Europe, and it was like known that was going to be their last time in Europe, and they asked us to come over with them, and we shared a bus, and what was great about it was, since they were on their last tour over there, they were making it a point to have days off in places like Venice and San Sebastian, Spain. So we would be able to have a day of just going out sightseeing and hanging out, and it was amazing. Like, I had a digital camera, like a digital ELF, like a Canon or something, and it was back when you had like some random little cartridges to like store the photos on, and it lost all of them. So yeah, and so I think Jonas still has them, so I can always go to him and be like, hey, do you have photos from even that whole time? First of all, I was always terrible at archiving my own life, which I regret now. But thankfully I was around people that had cameras and were, snapping shots, and luckily I have a ton of photos just from that. But I was actively taking photos over there, and then all that stuff is gone. So I have no idea what happened to it.
You just lost it?
Lost it. Yeah.
I understand. My one of my biggest regrets in life, I was like the scene videographer from 98 to 2000. I had a video camera and I would film every show.
Oh, wow.
And I left all the tapes at a house I lived at, and just, I don't know, I just lost track of them, and they got thrown out.
Ugh.
And it's one of my biggest regrets.
Yeah, that's gold now. I
Yeah.
mean, actually, Dan, who was an original member of the band, he was also like the scene videographer, and
Yeah.
he has everything, and he posts it on online. I think he has a YouTube channel, maybe, but he has every show he ever filmed or took a video of, and so it's crazy because it's just like you see this stuff and you're like, wow, I just, he took it serious, and he knew, that it was worth keeping. Whereas like when I would be moving around, I mean, I've thrown tape collections in dumpsters. I'm not going to lie to you. Like because I was just like in the heat of the moment, like, oh my God, going to your third apartment, and you're just like, why is this stuff following me around? And you're like, no one likes tapes anymore anyway, screw it, and throw away like a whole tape collection. And now I'm just like, oh my God, people are paying hundreds of dollars for like, like thrash tapes and stuff. And I'm just like, wow, well, you live and learn.
Exactly. I wasn't thinking about that when I was young. I was like a drunk and an addict. And when I moved, I was like, oh, my stuff will be there. It'll be fine. They'll take care of it.
Right.
Nope.
No, someone's going to throw it in the trash.
Right.
And you'll never see it again.
Now I take the archiving seriously. I hold on to ticket stubs and flyers. And it's kind of how this show started, actually, was like just trying to recapture some of that past stuff. I take it seriously now, so now it's fine.
Yeah, I do too. I'm like, yeah, and I'm, anytime someone sends, like a fan of the band or a friend of ours has photos or something, I'm just like, give it to me, please, or like scan it, email it, text it to me, and then now you can just save everything, in multiple ways. So it's good that way, but yeah, I just that's I was just lucky to be around people that had cameras and took it serious. Otherwise, it would just be like literally a black hole of just like memories. And then it's like, you're relying. Now I'm relying on people to remember things for me, like, and just because you forget how something went down or a show you played. And I have a few friends that don't forget anything, so I'm always like Jonas, who plays bass. It's just like always, hey, what? Yeah, I can ask him anything, and he'll know the names, place, time, what we ate for dinner. It's ridiculous.
There's always one guy in the band who is like that.
Yeah.
Who just remembers everything.
Yeah, it's wild, and I'm just like, wow, like, how did you remember that? But it does.
So Hope Conspiracy went strong until around 2003-ish?
Yeah, I think, I'd say 03 was probably, I mean, we played shows in 04, but, and 05, but just, that was around the time I thought you could feel like the energy was sort of going away. And that's completely on us, just never finding the time to I guess write songs that we could be happy with, or also just a lot of life stuff was happening at that time. It was after going out on the road and then just playing those songs again and again and again and again, and then you need to, the next thing is just like, well, if you want to keep doing this, you got to write new music. And then you start questioning yourself. It's like, well, is this what I want to keep doing? Like, I love music. I love playing it. I love writing it. I really like writing it. But I'm not happy with what we're doing right now. A matter of fact, it wasn't happening. And so you get back out there, play a show, and you're playing the same set again, the same songs, and it just, I started losing interest a little bit. And so there was a little bit of a lull around that time, probably for a couple years. I I started a band, with some friends called Bars at that time, which was literally, it was just a side project. It was just for the fun of doing it. And then we ended up, playing shows, and we ended up going on the road with, we actually went out with the Dwarves for, I think about 8 shows, something like that. And then that's when it really hit me. I was like, I need some stability in my life. I'm just not interested in being in a van all night and sleeping on floors and, with people's houses that I don't really know. Just, it's fun for a while. And then it starts, at least for me, it just started getting old. And that's around the time, we weren't really playing any shows at all. And I believe maybe around 05. I forget when Death Knows Your Name actually came out. Was it 05 or 06? I can't remember.
06.
Yeah. So I think around 05, maybe the end of or middle of 05 was when we started like getting serious about writing again and writing songs that we're really happy with. And so I think a handful of those songs we were, again, if Jonas was here, he'd tell me probably different. But I think a few of them were pretty much completed in terms of like how the song structures were. But the rest of it came together in the studio because I think we were just dialed in and feeling just the whole energy of it and of liking what we were doing. And so when that came out, it kind of gave us like a new life, in my opinion. I felt like it was like a departure, from what we did previously, and
Right.
onto sort of just a new sound, for us. I mean, it still sounded like us, but it just felt more dialed in.
Right. So you would actually write some of it in the studio. Are we talking like we're at the studio recording and coming up with new stuff?
Yeah, because someone, if you didn't have a complete song, you'd have a part, and then you just start working on that part together in the studio, and and then it would come together because everyone's kind of locked in and just kind of feeling it as far as putting together something that might have not been even like conceived until the 4th day of recording.
Yeah, I like that idea of just being locked in enough that you're in the studio. It's like, we have to get it done. We have to, and then you deliver.
Yeah, and that happened with that record. And I, to this day, I'm proud of that record. I mean, like I'm my own worst critic. I can, say, I could have done better. I always feel that way. As far as like, my performance or, whether it was a lyric or a word, I'm always kind of just nitpicking it. But if I take 2 steps back and don't listen to it for a while and then go back and listen to it and just be objective, I'm like, I can be very happy with that record. And I think a lot of people liked it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So I'm glad you think that too.
Yeah. As far as what we would play at this time, I feel like that record would get a lot of love from us. I'm saying, as far as like the set list is concerned. I mean, when I say departure, even when I think back, like End Note was a departure also. So you listen to that record compared to Cold Blue, it's like, I don't know, doesn't sound like the same band to me. I mean, we sound like us, but it just sounds different than Cold Blue. And,
oh yeah.
And then I think Death Knows Your Name kind of went further, and happy with it.
When you were performing with Bars, like performing live, how was that? Were people into it? Were they receptive, or was it just like a different crowd?
I mean, we would play a show. I think our first show was actually with the Ducky Boys at TT the Bears. And it was, I think we did well. I think people were into it. And, but, it was a weird band because we were like on this whole trip, like this whole, like, rock and roll kind of vibe. In
Right.
terms of, just like Dead Boys and AC/DC and, just like Stooges kind of running through our heads at that point and just trying to
Yeah.
scratch that itch. And that's why it was just it was just meant to be a side project. But at that point, when it was just like, what's our next thing with the Ho Conspiracy, and Tim, what's his next thing with AN, American Nightmare, who was kind of, I think, running out of steam at that point also. I think we were all running out of steam sort of at the same time. Not Converge, of course. They're just a steam.
They're just a workhorse.
A steamroller. Yeah, they're just nothing stops them. It's just forward, forward, forward. Don't look back. And and so, but with us, we're not those guys. We, those guys are, just they're true artists, true musicians, and in a way that I'm not like discrediting us. I'm just saying it's a next level. It's like, to me. And so that's why they keep just killing it, year after year. But for us, it's just, at that point I was just looking at, well, I'm in a band, this is what I do. Before I got to the point where I was like, I don't want to do this at all anymore. The bars was what really put it in me that was not what I wanted in terms from music anyway. Like I was totally fine creating it, recording it, going out playing the occasional shows, doing the small runs. But as far as like, going out for weeks at a time and that kind of thing, I couldn't do it. It wasn't going to be healthy for me mentally or physically. Because I was probably drinking too much at that time in my life, probably just dealing with things from the past that maybe, some PTSD kind of things going on. And I think it started sort of becoming clear to me that lifestyle wasn't going to be good for me. I just the anxiety of it all. The only way I found myself feeling better was once we'd get to where we were going and then start drinking as soon as we got to the club. And then that's just kind of, it's sad, it's
a slippery slope.
It is. And then it just, it becomes habitual. And then the next thing you know, you're feeling like shit. Next thing you know, you're playing like shit. Next thing you know, you hate each other. And next thing you know, you're driving home halfway through a tour because if it keeps happening, someone's going to be in a hospital bed, or whatever. It's just, it fell apart, but it fell apart in the most organic way possible. So we ended that. I think we might have played like a few more shows after that tour, maybe the following year just for the fun of it. But there's like a whole EP that band recorded and then re-recorded and then remixed and then just never came out. We never delivered the record to, I forget who was going to put it out, but there is a Bars record that exists and I have, but it'll never see the light of day. Not because I think it's terrible or anything. It just doesn't, it's more or less I think the time that it was recorded, I don't look back on fondly, sadly. And I don't think.
Yeah, I understand that because I went through a similar thing. Like I wanted to be in a band and tour. That's what I wanted so bad. But very early in life, drinking and drugs became the priority. And then I would try to, I didn't realize it, but that was the priority and the band would come second. And that derailed me for a while. And one of my bands too, we recorded an EP that ended up never coming out because we didn't like the recording. And that was when all of the drinking and all that kind of stuff was really ramping up and getting horrible in my life. Yeah. So when I think about that EP now, I think about some of the worst days of my life. So I wouldn't be in a big rush to go record that or to release that.
Yeah. It's weird. It's like we were talking about earlier, as far as like archiving our lives, with photos, I mean, the music for me, when I hear it, like something I did 20 years ago or 25 years ago, I mean, that is like, you can't ask for a better, I guess, photo for yourself, like of yourself and the people around you from that time. Like it's like immediately just comes flooding back to me. And uh in that time to me, I just remember being like I felt sort of lost. I was just like, this is not what I want to do. And
Yeah.
and there was like a lot of like people in the band that, there was like an idea of the band initially, and then it was like, no, we should be this, no, we should do that, we should play with these bands, no, we should play with these bands, we should go on this 5-week 6-week European tour. And then all of a sudden I was just like, I think a few of us in the band were just like, nope, not doing that, we're done, like, or else it's going to be really bad for me at least. And just that's around the time I started up with the screen printing, because I needed to do something that was consistent and stable. I needed to get stability back in my life, and just have the same bed to sleep in every night for a while. And and music was still there. It just it just wasn't going to be in that way.
Well, we know you started All Pigs Must Die around 2010, right?
Yeah. Yep. And two of the guys from Bars are actually in that band.
Ah, okay. So this idea came about. Now, I read you were at a Death Wish Inc. party, and you didn't even remember that you had talked to Matt Woods about starting the band until he texted you like a month later and was like, hey, I've got some riffs.
Yeah, we taught. So we were at the Christmas party, and I just remember him saying, hey, I got some riffs. And I was like, awesome, cool. Can't wait to hear them. And he's like, no, I'm serious. It's, I want to do this. And do you want to do it? I was like, yeah, just, yeah, sure. And of course it's a party, and then you just move on and you don't think about it. And then that was followed. Yeah. January 2010 was the last Hope Conspiracy tour, where we went to Europe for a few shows, and then did like kind of flew into New York, and then flew to did we play a Midwest show? I can't remember. No, we played the Northwest, and then down to California, and then Austin, Texas was the very last show we have played since, up to this point. That 20, yeah. So I forget the day, what the date was, but it was definitely January 2010, Austin, Texas. Power Trip, I think, opened, which is crazy. I remember watching them and being like, this band should be headlining, because they were totally sick. And I was just like, that band right there should be headlining. And
yeah,
and then of course what happened. They just became legends. Yeah, absolute legends. But anyway, it was such a great show, and I remember that night, Agnostic Front was playing just around the corner. So we played our show, and then everybody, all the bands walked around the corner and went over to see Agnostic Front play. And, and of course it was awesome. But that was the last show. So come home like a couple days later, and then Matt calls me up, and he's like, you ready to hear this stuff? And I was just like, oh yeah, totally. Yeah. And I forget if he must have like come up. He must have, came over to my house, and then, played me the 5 songs that he had. They were basically completed, for the most part, top to bottom. And I just was like, hell yeah. I wanted to do something heavier. And when I heard that, I was like, yeah, we're doing this. This is awesome. And so we started practicing on a regular basis. Oh, when I say regular basis, going down to New York a few times, because Adam lived down there and Ben lived down there. So they had a practice space. And so we would go down, every few weeks to Brooklyn, practice. And then we booked time with Kurt. And I believe it was in April, we were in God City. And we just went in there like with no, it was just going to be like, putting a microphone, here right in front of the speaker of the cabinet, and go. And we just, recorded those 5 songs, bare bones, no bells and whistles or anything like that. And just, that first EP was that. And, and I still love that thing to this day.
Oh yeah. I remember a lot of mention of All Pigs around that time. I'm pretty sure I saw you on that tour with Nails as well.
Just a few dates, right? We just did. We did. I think it was Boston, Philly, and Brooklyn.
Okay,
I believe. Yeah, and it was around that time. Because we didn't. Oh no, that was like because we didn't play any shows when the record came out until. So that was like the following. That was like 2011, early 2011. Yeah. That was, and so again, that band was going to be just a side project. We were going to self-release it and maybe play a show. We weren't sure. We would see how we felt about it. And then the record came out, and then I get an email out of the blue from Greg Anderson over at Southern Lord, and it was just like, "Hey man," it was just, "Hey man, love the record. Would love to do something if you're interested. Get back at me or something." And so I showed it to Matt because we loved, around that time especially, we were like listening to a lot of stuff coming out on Southern Lord, and of course Nails was on there. So it was like it felt like they were starting to kind of pull from our world a bit, from the new bands that were being formed, out of basically the members of the bands we were in.
Yeah, Southern Lord was dominating in the 2010s.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And it was like really, they put out a lot of different stuff. You had death metal, you had black metal, you had, sludge, doom, and, noise. It was a cool label. I just remember loving, and everything looked good. Everything sounded good. It was just packaging. Everything was like A+. So I was like, damn, like we already had like songs written for God is War at that point. And I think we had already booked time with Kurt to record it. And we were just going to self-release it again because we were able to get rid of everything we pressed for the first EP. We were like, well, we should just do it again ourselves. And then once Greg got in touch, it was like we had the talk. It was like, I don't know, man, this guy wrote to me. I'll give him a call. And then we called, and I think the first conversation I ever had with Greg was probably like 2 hours. I've never even met him, and I was just like, he's a super nice guy. And
wow.
And he was like, I was like, listen, man, we have no intention of touring. We would consider playing shows every now and again. And basically he said, absolutely no problem. I have tons of bands that never play. It's fine. So we're like, okay, let's do it. And then, we recorded God is War. And that was the first record with him.
Yeah, I was going to ask how much touring the band did because I lost track for a lot of that time. But yeah, I mean, you played those initial 3 shows. How many have you played over the years? Like, when was the last one?
The last show, we didn't play a ton. We just did, let me think. That time, we played like, a couple Boston shows a year, a couple New York shows a year. We only played Philly once, I think. And then we did a trip with Narrows. We were going to play South by Southwest, and we were probably going to just fly into it. And then I believe that Narrows, who was on Death Wish at the time, reached out to us. And they were going to be doing, a loop, from the Northeast, down south out to Texas. And they asked if we wanted to do it with them. And so we did it. So that was like I think that might've been the first real run we did with that band. And what was that? Like maybe 2011, 2012, something like that. And so And then I think before that, we did like the Power of the Riff festivals out in California and the Northwest for Southern Lord when they were putting those shows on. And so anyway, we did that run. And then I'm trying to think. We didn't do anything on the second full length, which was Nothing Violates This Nature. I think we recorded that. It came out, and I think just we were unable to get on the same page to get on any level. Like, people were, Ben was in Converge, and then they were really busy. And then when he could do it, Adam couldn't do it, or I couldn't. It was just one of those things that time frame. We didn't really do anything. Cool record, but we didn't do anything to support it at all. Maybe there was like a show here and there, but and then I think a year later, it was like 2015. Brian Izzy from Trap Them joined on second guitar, and that's when we started maybe playing a little more regularly. And I think our first show as a 5-piece was it the Acheron in Brooklyn?
Oh, the Acheron, yeah.
Yeah. That was our first show as a 5-piece. And it was amazing. Like, once I practiced with that, it was like doing karaoke. It was like listening to the CD. They were so tight. It was really cool. That was a fun band to play in.
Nice.
Yeah.
I missed that spot, the Acheron.
Yeah,
they don't do shows anymore.
Yeah, especially when they knocked down the wall and kind of made it bigger.
Yeah.
And that was when that show, the room was a lot bigger, and the stage was facing, towards the door.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a cool place, really cool place. And they'd always pack it out. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, we went to Europe, I think a couple times, just small runs. The last show was at St. Vitus, probably September 2018.
Ah, that's what I was going to ask. Okay. Yeah, so we had Hostage Animal in 2017. Any plans to record again or maybe play again?
Anything's possible. Matt, he just is always writing. And I know he has like a deep well of demos that he always talks about. I've heard them. But again, it's just finding the time to do it. And
right.
Is really what it comes down to. It's just tough, when you get, people have families, jobs, finding the time to do something, which I'm doing right now, to do this band again, which is awesome. Cause it really, I just looked at it as like, we've been talking about it for years. And before you know it, 10 years, 12 years goes by. And then next thing you know, it's 14 years since the last show, which is insane for me to think about. Like, it just does not feel like that show in Austin was 14 years ago. It makes me, it's wild to even wrap my head around that.
So that was the Last Hope Conspiracy show?
The Austin, Texas show in January 2010. Yeah.
How's that possible?
Right? It's crazy. It's crazy.
It doesn't feel like it should be that long.
No.
So when did you guys keep in touch? We know that you surprise dropped the excellent EP on us, Confusion, Chaos, Misery. And we've got the new record coming out, Tools of Oppression, Rule by Deception. But when did that start? When did we get in touch? When did we start recording again? Like, how does that all happen?
I mean, we've always been in touch. I mean, I talk to Jonas a lot. And he's like a brother to me. They're all like brothers to me. And, I would always see Jim. I would always see Niraj, and Jared. We'd always cross paths, or, Jared would be coming through with one of his bands, or, someone would be coming to Boston just for business or visiting over the holidays. So everyone always kept in touch. And even while All Pigs Must Die was active, as active as we were, those guys were always telling me, yeah, we're writing, we're demoing, we're getting together in LA. We're getting together in Oakland, and I was always like, yeah, okay, keep me in the loop. And I kind of, for a while, I got to be honest, it just like, I've even said this to Jonas. I really had no intention of ever doing it again with this band.
Really?
I couldn't, it just didn't even, I couldn't picture it, because I just felt like, you know what, it's been so long at this point, and I just, I'd listen to the old stuff, and I'm like, I'm glad people like it, but it just doesn't. It's like that person, it's a time in my life where I'm like, okay, I've moved on. It's on to something else, and whether it doesn't have to be music, just in life in general. And so anyway, they were always, keeping me in the loop and sending me demos. And then next thing I know, it's like, we need to, I remember Jonas said, listen, man, we need to shit or get off the pot, because I don't want to do this anymore if you're not interested. And I was like, and I kind of felt like, man, these guys have been at this for years and years. And it's like getting together and putting time in. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Let's do this. And when you want to talk about shows, like let's just talk about writing new music. That's what I care about. And as far as shows go, that's secondary. We'll cross that bridge if at all, when we get there. So we'll put all our energy into writing and all our energy into recording, and then take it from there. Because at that point, you don't even know, is this thing going to suck? Like, am I going to hate this? Do I want anyone to hear this? Am I going to have to like take the money out of my pocket and tell Jake over at Death Wish, like, listen, man, here's the money. Do not put this out. I don't like, like don't want it out there. It's cool. We're even.
Well, thankfully that didn't happen, I hope.
No.
Yeah, we like the EP. We love it.
Yeah. And no, we were I'll be honest, once I started hearing the demo, I flew out. That's what happened. I flew out. I think it was.
When was this?
I flew out after the shit or get off the pot conversation in May of, so it's 2024. It's like probably 3 years ago now.
Okay.
It was after COVID, 2 years ago, maybe. It was 2 years ago. Flew out, and it was just specifically to get in the practice space and write and get my head in the game and give ideas and just essentially be present. That's what my role, to show them I'm like on board and not kind of just like, send me what you got when it's done, just be a part of the whole process.
And where did you fly out to? Where do they live now?
Well, everyone lives everywhere. At that time, Tim was in the band. So you had 3 guys in LA. So Tim, Niraj, and Jared lived in LA. Jonas lived in Oakland, and I live here in Boston, north of Boston. So, Jonas had to fly down, and then I had to fly out from here. And so anyway, we met up for a weekend out in LA and just spent. I think we went out to Joshua Tree for a couple days too. And then back to LA and down to business. So once that happened, and I heard the music in person, and got to be with them, be around the guys, it made me. I was just like, oh man, I need this back in my life. This is great. It was just great being around them again. It was great, just kind of just getting you creative again,
right.
And making music. So the pact was we weren't going to talk about, shows, fests, any of that. It was just, everything was going to be about the music and writing new music. And so we just focused on that. And again, just like, with Death Knows Your Name, we had a handful of songs that were, probably 90, 95% were even 100% done. And then a few of them we, finished or actually wrote from scratch right in God City. And there's not like one song on it where I'm just like, that's filler, or I'm not happy with that, but whatever, that happens. It's like song for song. I couldn't be happier with how it came out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we know there is going to be shows now. That's got to be pretty mind-blowing, right?
Yeah, it's yeah, for sure. I'm like, it's all I've been thinking about is like, wow, we agreed to this. Okay, cool. It'll be fun. It'll be awesome because we're just in full control of, I mean, it's anything we can be in control of, we're going to control it. That's how we're approaching it. And we're booking the shows. We're going direct with the promoters. We're trying to be able to, pick all the bands that are going to be playing, newer bands that we think are, killing it right now that we like. And so that being said, it's kind of it's getting me excited to do it, because I'm also going to see a bunch of people I haven't seen in years, out there.
Yeah.
And that's always cool. And yeah, so we're going to be, playing at this moment where we've got, the Boston show, the Brooklyn show, and the Philly show, and also a show out in Chicago in July, end of July, the Rumble. It's like a 2-day thing out there, and we'll be playing on Saturday.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about the next release, Tools of Oppression, Ruled by Deception? It's coming out May 31st on Death Wish Inc. I don't know what it is yet. Now, this episode is going to come out a week before the record, so tell us what you can without any of us getting in trouble.
Well, I'd say if you like Death Knows Your Name, and of course I keep, I don't want to leave out the EP, True Nihilist. If you like those, it's that direction, and except I think it's definitely the heaviest thing we've written and recorded. This band, it's got a lot. We went with like I was talking about earlier, the things I go back to. I go, when I want to listen to something that's gonna get the adrenaline going, or just make me psyched. It's I go back to the stuff that I discovered when I was, like I said, in middle school, high school sometimes, and the heavy stuff, the punk stuff, like the hardcore from that time, and that's the influence, really. At the end of the day, there's a lot of 90s in there also, but at the when you hear the songs, it's us. You hear those influences, but it's definitely us. It's some of them I'm just like, yeah, that's a Hope Conspiracy song through and through. We got fast ones, but you get the mid-tempo songs in there, and I really think if people give it a chance, I think they'll like it. I'm not a salesman. It's like if people like it, cool. It's irrelevant to me if people are upset that it doesn't sound like Cold Blue. Like, that's fine. That record exists. They can listen to it anytime. And that's great. But it's not like a nostalgia trip. It's like, or trying to recreate something. It's just always moving forward. And if we're not able to move forward, I don't want to do it at all. So I think this record is definitely like a step forward for us.
Yes, well, I'm excited. Many of us are excited. I mean, did you see the reaction to the EP and the shows coming up? I mean, a lot of people are excited.
Yeah, I gotta, honestly, I was shocked by it. I have no concept of whether people would care or not, and when people like gave a shit about it, like, it was just like, oh wow, cool. Like, people still give a shit about this band. So that's great. And so I think they'll like the record, and and we're going to be putting a lot of time in getting ready to play those shows, so we don't suck. So, like, I'm going to be flying out to LA first week of April for our first rehearsals together, and then again in May.
Do you think anyone is actually expecting a Cold Blue Part 2? Because when I think of the Hope Conspiracy, I think of like End Note and Forward, that sound.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, even End Note to me is, I've kind of just, it's cool. And it was, it was a good record. But for me, I look at anything at this point, this is just my opinion. Death Knows Your Name Forward is where I really think the band, my idea of the band, kind of came into vision.
Right.
That's for me. I know a lot of people are very, very much, they love that first record and the demo, and that's great. But that, to me, when I hear that stuff, I mean, there's a few songs that I'm like, yeah, we could probably play that. That's still us. I think we would, sounds like something we would do now. But it really is a different band. That first initial lineup, the sound, the song structures, all of it. It's like just different. And then I just feel like everything got more streamlined as we went. And I think Death Knows Your Name is the real true beginning of that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, because it's like take Converge, for example. I love Petitioning the Empty Sky, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think of Converge like that anymore. And if I'm listening to a record, I typically go Jane Doe and Forward.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you go back and listen to the 90s stuff, and it's great. Brings back memories. It's fun. But yeah, Jane Doe is really where it all starts.
Right. And same for Hope Conspiracy. I love Cold Blue, and those songs still get me charged up, but I do think of you as the newer Hope Conspiracy now, like the later records.
Yeah, and the lineup is definitely, the same for the most part of that era,
Yeah.
Tim is not in the band, but now Jim Carroll's in the band. He helped write and record the new record, the new EP and the new record. And and so, yeah, it's really that time frame, that group of people from that era are part of this now. So, yeah, it's definitely us in 2024.
Nice.
Yeah.
When you first got together with the guys for that practice session, I mean, was that nerve-wracking at all? Did it take a second to get your footing back, or were you guys just right back into it?
I mean, it was just like, it was more just like, wow, I can't believe, I remember being in a room and trying to figure out how to get from one part to the next. And everybody stopping and everyone having to put their 2 cents in. And it just made me laugh, because I was like, holy shit, here I am again. This is awesome. Like, it was fun. And so when we got done with that weekend, before I knew it, Jonas was like, well, I'm getting in touch with Kurt, and we're going to make this happen. And that'll really give us incentive to put the work in and get these songs completed and get them recorded.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, let's recap for the people. Now, if we're waiting for a Piecemeal reunion, probably not going to happen.
Oh, yeah. We're next month. We're gonna be playing a basement in Connecticut somewhere. I think outside of Merritt. Yeah.
Hope Conspiracy. We know what's going on. Confusion, Chaos, Misery. The excellent new EP is out there. We can listen to that now. Tools of Oppression, Rule by Deception is out May 31st on Death Wish Inc. And we've got these gigs coming up. We have to go, right?
Yeah. I mean, you got to go. There's still tickets for Brooklyn, I think. And of course, if you're in the Midwest, in July, we're playing Chicago at the Rumble. I can tell you what that date is right now. It's, I think, the 19th and the 20th at the Cobra Lounge, parking lot to be exact. So it's going to be outside in July.
Nice.
Chicago. Doesn't that sound fun?
No. I hate the heat. I hate it.
But there's a ton of bands, a ton of cool bands playing. Modern Life is War is playing. Conservative Military Image. Weekend Nachos.
Oh, wow.
Hold My Own. Like, there's a ton. of bands.
Yeah, everybody go to the show. We don't know when we're going to get the Hope Conspiracy live again, so we have to go. That's a good reminder. I'm going to buy tickets to that Brooklyn gig right after we're done here, Kevin.
Yeah, do it. And we will meet face to face.
Yeah, I look forward to it. And then bars, reunion, not likely. There's an EP out there we haven't heard, but it's going to stay in the archives.
Yeah, I'll leak it out someday so that the 3 people that care will be happy.
We'll see it pop up on YouTube eventually. And all pigs must die. Anything could happen, right?
Anything, at any time.
Well, Kevin, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. I've been listening to you a long time. I look forward to seeing Hope Conspiracy again soon. And thank you. Yeah,
and also I thank you for taking the time to do this, and and thank you for anyone who's listening to still cares about this band, and we really do appreciate it.
And there you have it, Kevin Baker. What a great conversation. Kevin was super nice, super forthcoming. It was really interesting to hear about the whole history of the Hope Conspiracy. It was really interesting to hear about their first hiatus, right? When Kevin was in bars and some of the difficulties he was going through that time, drinking too much, having to cut back, getting through that. I always love those stories. And it's really awesome to have them back. I can't believe they haven't played a show since 2010. Kevin couldn't believe they haven't played a show since 2010. Time flies. But it's great to have them back. I've spent a lot of time with this band over the weekend, listening to the discography, listening to the new EP they just put out, listening to the new record they just put out. Yes, I have heard an advance of Tools of Oppression, Rule by Deception. And you're going to love this record. They have not slowed down a bit. They have not softened up a bit. The thing I really love about the Hope Conspiracy is they've always had a great swing in the music from the first album all the way up to this new album. They've got great swing. They have great rock sensibilities. The leads that they throw in, I like those one-note dissonant leads that they do. It's got great attitude, and I just really enjoy what they're doing. And what Kevin said is accurate. He said, "Death knows your name." That's really the ultimate Hope Conspiracy to him. And that the newer stuff is more in that vein, which is true. So if you love Death Knows Your Name, if you love the Hope Conspiracy, you're going to love Tools of Oppression, Rule by Deception. Like I told you, they have not slowed down even a little bit. And I'm excited for everybody to hear the record. They're also playing June 8th at the Meadows in Brooklyn with Umbra Vitae. And I'm really excited for that. I don't think I've seen the Hope Conspiracies since 2002, somewhere around there. And Umbra Vitae I have not seen yet. They're really awesome. I was checking them out recently. So it's going to be a heavy-hitting gig, and I look forward to it. So thank you so much, Kevin, for coming on the show. So let's check in. How are we doing? I am doing better than I was the last couple weeks. As of this past Tuesday, I celebrate another year clean and sober, and I'm happy about that. I have mixed feelings about it too. I felt different this year. I felt not great this year, but I think that's because I just get squirrely during winter into spring and then spring into summer. Something about those times of year, something about those changes of season, I really don't feel good. And that seems to happen every year. And I got hit hard this year. Starting at the end of March, up until about last week, I was not feeling good. But I pushed through, and I think I'm on the other side of it now. And I'm working on lessening that blow for next year, whatever I have to do. But in terms of recovery, I don't know. I'm happy that I'm clean another year, but I don't necessarily want my life to be defined by the fact that I used to get high, and I don't necessarily want it to be defined by the fact that I don't get high anymore. And I don't want it to be defined by recovery either. There's I'm involved in 12-step recovery. That's what got me clean way back then. There's things about it I like, and there's things about it I don't like. But as they say, take what you need and leave the rest. And that's what I'm doing. I'm restructuring how I approach recovery a bit and how involved I am. And I'm working that out, and I think that's going to improve my quality of life. But I'm happy where I'm at right now. Because if you knew me before, you knew what was going on, or maybe you didn't. I don't know. People tell me that I was pretty good at hiding it at times. But I'm very happy where my life is at now, and I would like to continue moving in this direction. So I say all of this to say, if you're in a bad spot in life, if you're looking to make a change, you can. Because I was completely hopeless. I had nothing going on. I was in severe debt. I always had like negative $1,000 in my bank account. It was bad. I was severely underweight. Things were really, really bad. And I finally got the help I needed. I asked for help. I got that help. And I've managed to completely turn things around for the better. And you can do the same. And it doesn't have to be what I'm doing either. It's something different. It's something different for everybody. I've had people on the show who just throw themselves into the art they're doing or the music they're doing or whatever it is, and they turn themselves around. There's people who throw themselves into fitness and they turn themselves around. There's people who throw themselves into family and they turn themselves around. It's just a matter of taking that first step. So to everyone out there, whatever you're dealing with, I hope you can get through it too. So let's see, what else is going on? I saw Frail Body last Sunday, and what an amazing band that is. They are a screamo band out of Illinois. I think they're from Illinois, and what an amazing live show. Make sure you go see them if you have the opportunity, and check out the new record, Artificial Bouquet. I'm really enjoying that. So I'm happy I went to that show. Shows on a Sunday are tough. Sunday is a tough day for me. So I went through my whole thing like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to go. And then my friend was supposed to go, and I didn't know if she was going. It was this whole thing. And I was like, do I go? Do I not go? But we ended up going, and it was amazing. And I'm really glad I did. So shout out to Frail Body. And then later that week, I saw Sunny Day Real Estate. They've been doing the Diary 30th anniversary tour, and that was really amazing. The band seemed genuinely happy to be there. They were telling little stories in between songs, and Dan, the guitar player, looked like he was having a blast. We got to hear all of Diary, and I haven't sat down and listened to all of Diary in a long time. So they would start to play a song, and I would be like, oh my God, I haven't heard this song in like a decade or more. And just so many memories associated with that record. It's crazy. So I'm sitting there watching one of the best bands ever and just getting hit with all of these memories that I haven't thought about in 20 years. So really happy I went to that show. They played all of Diary. They played the first song from How It Feels. They played a song from a more obscure song from one of their 7 inches. They played a song from The Rising Tide, and they closed with their newest song, Novum Vitas. That's it. They closed with that, and that was really awesome. So very happy I went to that show because I had tickets and I didn't go last time they played. All right, I saw them at Furnace Fest 2022, and it was one of the best things I ever saw. Super varied set, really awesome. And then I came home from Furnace Fest and I had tickets to see them again like a week later. And I was like, I'm not going to go. And I didn't go. But I wish I had. But look, I just saw them this week again. Everything is fine. And besides that, it's business as usual here. I've got a lot of great blockbuster episodes coming up for the podcast. I'm extremely excited, and you're going to be too. So that's it. That is it for this week. So this is the end of the show. So here comes a music recommendation for you. I hung out with Chris Enriquez the other week, and we were talking about the band Centaur. That's Matt Talbot's band that was formed a little bit before Hum broke up the first time. but their first record, their only record, In Streams, came out in 2002. Spotlights played a gig with Centaur at Matt Talbot's bar, the Loose Cobra. That's out in Illinois. And Spotlights played with them. It was sometime this year, last year. I can't remember when it was, but I was talking to Chris about that gig. And I was asking him how it was because, Centaur don't play a lot. So first of all, to see them is one thing, but to play with them, wow. So I was asking him a bunch of questions about that. And I went back and listened to the record and just was reading about the songs and some of the subject matter, which was really heavy and really touching. And I haven't listened to this record in a long time. I listen to the song Strangers on 5 a lot because it's on one of my playlists, but I haven't sat down and listened to the record in a while, and it is really, really something. So we are going to end the show with the song The Same Place. It is by the band Centaur, and it's from their 2002 LP, In Streams. And I highly encourage all of you to go and check out this record. I'll add the song to the New Scene 2024 Spotify playlist. You can hear most of my recommendations there. You can hear all of the bands who have been on the show. It's a great place to hear all of the music associated with the show. So check it out, and I'll see you next week.